Hey guys, this is Mr. V. Over here doing a book review today for The Two Towers by J.R.R. Tolkien. This is Lord of the Rings, Book 2. Before I get into my book review, I want you to know that I do a spoiler-free book review. So if you see me looking down, I just have some notes, so I try not to give any spoilers away. Also, if you're considering reading The Two Towers, make sure that you have read Book 1, The Fellowship of the Ring. And make sure you have not just read a summary, that you've read the full book, and you'll hear why during my book review. And if you are considering, after reading book 1, if you should continue with the book 2, I would definitely continue, as you'll see why in my book review. Now, the main premise of this book is basically that Frodo and his companions are going to continue to try and get to destroy the ring, and they're just going to continue their quest. But while they're continuing this quest, I would say that book 2 is definitely a lot more exciting. Now, I enjoyed book 1 because I enjoyed the end. As in the end of book 1, remember, it ended in a semi-cliffhanger. Gandalf died, the orcs were attacking, and Sam and Frodo took off with the ring. So the end was definitely on a cliffhanger, and basically book 2 starts out right where book 1 ends. Like literally just one right to the next. As you are seeing Frodo and you're seeing the hobbits, the orcs are attacking, everything is just starts right from the beginning. And I felt that this was exciting because of that. And that this also had a great beginning. There was not only a lot of excitement, but there was a big surprise in the beginning, which was really nice. And it all happens within the first chapter. So that was really cool. And it was a very intense beginning. And I think it's a very intense beginning, not only because what is happening, but it's because you already know the characters. Like, he doesn't need the character development anymore. Like, he already developed the characters in book 1. So that's why I felt that it was just more intense right from the beginning, because it was just a continuation. And, at the end of book 1, you basically saw them splitting up, like Aragorn and all of them had to somewhat split up, and Frodo had to take off. And it showed there was so many different multiple storylines and what they were going to do. So I think that definitely helps. And in book 2, it was also a lot of fun because he goes a lot more in depth for all the characters, which makes you care a lot more about the characters. And that definitely, helps the storyline a lot. And I thought that was great, because then there's also this fun mystery of what will happen. Because now that there are multiple characters with multiple different storylines, there's a lot more the main story is the ring, but there are still multiple different storylines because there's so many characters now, but he's already developed the characters from book 1. So I think that definitely helps. And he does add a few more characters. It's not like that's it. He still adds more characters. But because you already know a main crew that he doesn't need to really develop, he continues to develop them, but he doesn't need to develop them as much anymore. You don't have to worry about any of that. And you don't have to worry about being overwhelmed with characters anymore. So that was really cool. And the other cool thing in book 2 was there was a lot of wonder about Mordor, because he talks a lot more about Mordor in book 2. As they are getting closer, they need to get closer, to the Dark Lord, all of that. They need to get closer to destroy it. So you hear a lot more about Mordor, and there's also a lot more wonder about the ring. He discusses the ring in book 1, and a lot gets exposed about the ring in book 1, but even more in book 2, and you just want to learn more, but you do learn a lot more. So that is a lot of fun, and the kind of power that this ring has, and it's just really fun learning about it. And I just felt book 2 did a great job, because I felt he did more suspense. You become a lot more entrenched in Middle Earth. You understand the world a lot more because of book 1. It's just becomes more fascinating. There's more wonder, and it's just overall just a lot more fun because he does a great job in book 2, and it just continues the quest. Now, some of the things that I did not like, or some of my complaints about book 2, one of them was that it had long chapters. It was the same as book 1. Book 1 had a long chapters as well, but this one, some of them were a little longer, and that was a little tough. But I still felt that it was better than book 1 long chapters, because you already know the characters, so it did not drag. Some of book 1 seemed to drag. In book 2, it didn't seem to drag like book 1. but they were still long, and it was still tough because you always wanted to finish the chapter, but you sometimes have to put it down due to the length. So that was always a little tough. And then some parts were still hard to follow. Again, it was similar to book one. Book one, some parts were hard to follow, and some parts were confusing, and others were easy to follow, but other parts were confusing, and it was similar to book one. And I think I do wonder if he did that on purpose, as he discusses the history of some things, but because of that, it can be confusing at times. And that can make it a little tough. And again, it's very similar to book one, but I still feel this book did it better. But just be prepared for that. Now, my biggest complaint though was, as I said, there was multiple storylines because you have so many characters. You guys already know that from the end of book one. There's so many characters, so many things going on, and he adds more storylines throughout the book. But there was one storyline that he added, and then he talks about in the beginning, and then he just doesn't cover it for half the book. And that part was kind of annoying that he did that, because you get engaged in that storyline and then it's just gone for half the book. And that was a little bit annoying, because there are still many other storylines going on, there's still many other things going on, but it can be a little annoying that something's not addressed. He opens the storyline up and then just doesn't address it for half the book. He does come back and address it, but that part was a little annoying. And now, as for the end, the last 20% of the book or so, I felt that this had a great end. It was a lot of fun because there was nice twists, there was nice shocking moments, and it leaves you wanting more, which is always great in a trilogy, so it leaves you wanting more and wanting to go on to the third volume. So I thought that was great. Now, as for Tolkien's writing style, basically, if you're watching this review and you've read book one, I would say that you're used to his writing style, because it's basically the same writing style. He has a very engaging writing style where the chapters flow very smoothly and you want to keep reading it. While there are long chapters, it's okay because he has great dialogue, just as in book one. There was a lot of great dialogue, and you get the feel for Middle-earth. How it feels, how they speak different at times, the language, but he had already set up the scenery, the legends, the rivalries, the history. He does all that and captures you with his writing style. And he does a great job with the stories intertwining well. And I think it's because, again, he set it up in book one. Fellowship of the Ring set a lot of it up, and he continues it nicely in book two, in The Two Towers. And I think book two was very nice because it had just more action. I think it was more suspense. There was more shock. And I think it's just because you know the characters better, you know the world better, Middle-earth, and you become more immersed in Middle-earth. And I think because of all those reasons, it kept you on the edge of your seat more, because there was also a lot more shocking moments. So I definitely would recommend this book. If you are on the edge after book one, I would say pick it up. Definitely read the first chapter and see how you like it. But I definitely recommend this book, but let me give it my official rating. So I always rate my books on a scale of 0 to 10, with a 0 being awful, a 5 being average, and a 10 being phenomenal. If you get anywhere near 10, make sure you put that on your reading list, because I'm a very tough critic. It's hard to move up even 1 point in my rating system, and a 5 is average. So for The Two Towers by J.R.R. Tolkien, I'm going to rate this book a 7.5, which in my rating system is a very solid book, because I just felt that this book was a great continuation from his first book. So I definitely recommend that you guys go out and get this book. If you guys have any comments, anything like that, please post it in the comment section below. Hope you guys click the subscribe button, as I always upload multiple different types of book reviews. But thank you for watching my book review today. This is Mr. V. Go enjoy reading.